Now, for the man, when we see prostate cancer is on the rise, 2 out of every 3 men develops prostate cancer. Out of every 3 men that get it, 2 of them die from it. And when you die from prostate cancer, that means that you die within 5 years. But if you die 5 years and 2 days, then it's not prostate cancer. That's the statistics here. You know? A survivor of cancer is 5 years. They call you a cancer survivor if you go 5 years and the symptoms don't reappear. If it's 5 years and 2 days, then it's not the same, you know? If it's during that same 5-year period, you have a relapse. So our brothers, many of our young men suffer with erectile dysfunction, and it's not like your father never told you. Did you ever have a conversation with your father that say, "Oh, my boy Marshall, when you see a sister, you must treat her like this, and then you must talk to her like that." And if it gets intimate, then that's what you're supposed to do. You know? You're supposed to come, you know? So the man was never cultured in how to deal with a woman. No one taught him. Right? So many of the men had to be trying. I know some people are quicker learners than others. So some people never get it. Literally. Because most culturally, there was a tradition when knowledge was impacted upon the man. What's the name of the bone in the penis of the man? What's the name of the bone in the penis of the man?
Penis bone.
Anybody know the name of the bone in the penis? You see, he's a man, you know, and he's saying the penis has a bone. The penis doesn't have a bone. There is no bone in the penis. I'm going to focus on prostate cancer and erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction. So, how does a man have an erection? Or what is erectile dysfunction?
Lack of blood flow.
Lack of blood flow. Blood flow is just one aspect of an erection. You know there are psychological factors that affect a man's erection. There are neurological, meaning that your nervous system. When a man gets an erection, what happens is this. He must have a level of stimulation. It could be his eyes, it could be his ears, it could be his mind. When he thinks of, or he sees, or he feels, particular hormones are released within his physical structure. And lots of a chemical called nitric oxide. So what really happens in the penis is that all the vessels in the penis relax, the veins, they relax. And then blood is actually pumped into the veins. And there are caverns within the penis. So within the penis, if you feel a soft penis, you'll feel like it has caverns, like little holes. The blood then fills these caverns, and then the reverse valve prevents that blood from actually coming out of the penis. So an erection, as simple as it is, deals with your circulatory system, your nervous system, your psyche. So when it is that a man has erectile dysfunction, when you are beginning to address it, you must address it on all these different levels. Because whereas a man might be able to get an erection with one sister, he might not be able to get an erection somewhere else. Can any man attest to that? I hope you'll be giving up yourself, eh? But I mean, it's something that's very common. So what we have found that works very good Especially because not for our people, they don't understand, like, even with premature ejaculation for the man. If you know what an ejaculation is, how many sperms do you ejaculate? You know how many? Right? Every ejaculate of a man has over 200 million sperms. If you have 100 million, you have low sperm count. You understand that? If you have 100 million, it's low, brother. You might think you're there, you know, but so it is critical that, okay, unless you know that, and you are also aware that just wearing tight underwear does kill sperm. Right? So in Japan, when you see all the Japanese men in the warm room and they're sitting down and they're half naked, that's birth control. The hot temperature in the steam room kills sperm. So if you're a man and you have low sperm count, and every time you sit down in a hot bath, you're not doing yourself no favor. Right? In fact, the contrary, sitting down, putting your testicles in cold water actually activates sperm production. That's why the testicles are not inside of your physical structure. Your balls is not inside of you. It's outside of you. In two sacs. In a sac, two separate testicles in that sac outside of you. Why? Because the temperature control is so important. Because if it's inside of you, the temperature of inside of you will kill the sperms. So the testicles have to be on the outside. So even wearing loose cotton, linen underwear increases your possibility of having a higher sperm count. It takes over 3 months for a cycle of sperm to actually be well matured. Size for size, a sperm swims as fast as a nuclear submarine. Size for size. So if a sperm really gets as big as it moves that fast. So for the size of the sperm, because remember, from the time that you are born, you are already a hero, It's not easy for a sperm to make it. It's not easy for a sperm to make it. When a man ejaculates, and the sperm actually enters into the vaginal canal, the vagina of the woman is very acidic. Acidic. So plenty of the sperms die as they enter into the vaginal canal. They just die. Why? Because it's too acidic. Then they have a very tiny hole called the cervix that they have to swim through. You know how many of them just can't get through? So by that time, 100 million gonna in. Then if 100 million make it inside, they have to swim up now. And you have cilia on the walls of the womb of the woman that's flapping and pushing a lot of them down. Then you have 2 ovaries, one left, one right. So let's say you have 50 million remaining. If 25 million go right, they have no egg. Then 25 million go left, that's where the egg is. Now, when they meet that egg, because the woman, you see, life is so beautiful. The egg of the woman only completes its creation when the head of the sperm actually penetrates into the egg. It stops, it's like a division cycle. So the sperm divides and one sperm gives you, one parent sperm cell, germ cell gives you 4 sperms, 23 chromosomes each. But with the woman, it gives you polar bodies. And they freeze in a stage of development. And they only continue to develop. The final step is when the sperm penetrates the coronal radiator, a layer that's around the ovary of the woman. And as soon as that one sperm enters, what happens? A wall is built around it and no other sperm can enter. So out of 200 million, it's you, you know, so every one of you is one out of 200 million. So as a man, because I'm saying that, you know, when I said that many men go home and don't get no kind of care, because they begin to murmur. I used to murmur, you know, I said, why? But then I sit down and I check myself. I said, but if the goddess wants to take care of her food, what does she do? She go for a pedicure. Right? If she wants to take care of her nails, what she do? She go for a manicure. When was the last time you went for a pedicure as a man? Never. Then you quarreling if your wife, when your wife have 3 children and probably, yeah. I said, but all this children the goddess has, my wife has so many children, eh? So why should I be upset that I don't get? Let me as a man begin to orchestrate means to actually take care of myself as a man. So as a man, you have a fundamental responsibility to care for yourself. Make sure you eat well. Don't get upset that, don't come that side that if you come home and then you get no food, you're upset. Why you upset? Probably the sister there with 2 children after the, you know, and then the sense of rejection in a man is different. When a man is rejected, because many men has been rejected. Yeah, many of young black men, they go for rejection. Rejection is a killer. Rejection is a killer. For a man, the worst thing a man can go through, in St. Lucia they call it go well. You know what go well? Right, go well. Go well is when your woman leave you and then probably you'll be in the house together. She downstairs, she upstairs. And now she come in there with Teddy and every day you see that and you're just there. Then you see the man get slim and you could see all the bones in his head. It affects a man different than it affects a woman. You don't find women have committed suicide because of relationship. Men. So the young man comes from a cycle of rejection. So prostate problems is not just the physical things that you drink and the chemicals and the pesticides and these things that contribute. We are living in a time of mind over matters. You know, so I'm not here to talk about food nor herbs and things. Mind over matters. Every time a man feels rejected, he swells his prostate. Trust me. Trust me, I'm telling you. Right? So the same way that the trauma affects the woman and gives her breast cancer. Because when the woman sits down and she says, boy, I was a good wife, I take care of look how I do, and then, okay, cycle, breast cancer. For PCOS, fibroids, breast cancer, that's it, right? Because all these are symptoms of hormonal imbalance. Now, if you as a woman, you were a good wife, you took care of the family, how are you supposed to feel? Happy or sad? Huh? Happy. So instead of you sitting down and saying, boy, I was a good wife, and then say, oh man, give thanks, you feel happy about the good things that you were doing. So it's your perception. So is the man. My brother, fellow brothers. You know, we really have to, we have been rejected a lot. Because, you know, as Rastafari, you know, I go through all of it, though it's 10 times harder to achieve. I remember when I started my journey, I was about maybe 18, 19, and I was bright, and my mother saw like I started to grow my locks, and she said if she knew that I would have grown my locks, she would have never created me. You understand that? Now, at that time, probably 1999, I cried, tears came out of my eyes. I never cried after that. Until now, I never cried. So me, I cried again. And then, years after, I was in a deep meditation, and just came to me. My mother knew that when I put that locks, I would get beat, I would get arrested, I couldn't get a job, I'd go for separation. So she knew that the reason that she said that was because of love. Many men grow up not knowing that their mother loved them, you know. Many men grow up not knowing that their mother loved them. I realized that I overstood that my mother loved me. Probably when I was at 22, 23. I got into trouble and I saw my mother cry. I never knew my mother loved me. I never thought that my mother cared. When she did. So, if you now as a man, I was able to sit down and love my mother more. You understand? And that's for my benefit, you know. So when I say that, I don't say that and I'm upset. I say it and I'm happy. Right? Because that same mother, I am the one who ended up taking care of her. I am the one who ended up doing everything. And she never saw me use ganja. Never. And one day she said, come and pray for me. I need to pray for me. I'll Rasta man that's pray. You know, I want to be burned. So, everyone, to the man, everyone loves to associate with success. So, if you're a Rasta man, your responsibility is to be the best. It doesn't mean that you have to be. That was what I got from that point in life is that I always aim for the best. I said I will accomplish as a Rastafari what anybody else accomplished. Right? So you have to turn your worst set of rejections as a man. Something that you felt like somebody denied you of, that you felt that you had a right to receive. You have to change that in your psyche and use it as fuel for you to become more potent. You can't be a man that works hard and don't take time to feast properly. And you're drinking soft drink and lunchtime and buy the best for yourself. You have to buy the best for yourself. When you bring 5 apples home, 5 sweet apples, and you have 3 children and everybody there and think, if you put these 5 apples on the desk, if as a man, when you come back, how many you find? How many you find? None. They eat all. As a man, you take that, but as a man, you have to, once in a while, you have to eat all the 5 apples. What will happen? Why? Because when you eat all the 5, you'll provide 25. You overstand your value. Stop cutting yourself short. Premature ejaculation is as much of the mind as it is of physical. Now, if you have premature ejaculation, I think they call it like 1 minute. You say, oh, this man's a 1 minute man. The 1 minute principle is not a wrong principle in itself. There is no problem being a 1 minute man. Is that a problem when you want to meet man? Why? What if that? Because remember, a man and a woman relationship supersedes just a physical relationship, you know. Are you aware that you would have your wife would be like a 30-second empress? Like 30 seconds. No, I'm very serious, you know. So a man that ejaculates, I know that the sisters will understand that. A woman can actually reach that point of organism. They call it orgasm. I call it organism. A woman reaches that point, she can reach it in 30 seconds. No? No, woman? If a woman can reach that point without penetration, right? That's level of relationship. Based upon the woman's understanding of self, most of our sisters, when they engage intimacy not at the point of self-satisfaction. Most of our sisters approach intimacy as a point of doing something for the man. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? No? When the woman begins to approach her own intimacy for her own satisfaction, for her own understanding, her approach towards coming together is completely different. You have to, as a woman, approach your sexuality differently. Remember that coming together is one of the greatest acts in creation. That's through what conception actually comes forth. You make children through coming together. So your attitude towards sexual intercourse, coming together, has to be one where you have that understanding that you're doing something awesome. So you don't approach it as it's not a work. So 90% of the time, the man would be the one approaching. If you look on Instagram, you see all the things they do about this. So always the man coming, and when he comes and you know? So that can cause erectile dysfunction. When a man is never approached, he loses that sense of meaningfulness. If you as a wife never approach your husband, after a while, you will stop feeling wanted. I'm telling you. To the point that he won't be able to have that same erection because you don't pursue him. When a man is pursued, sometimes a man goes outside and do something, not because he loves Jennifer. It's just that Jennifer just telling him, "Oh, Jerry, you're looking good, boy. You're going to the gym." Right? So, a compliment. And the woman taking the time out to initiate coming together goes a long way in building up the self-confidence of the man. So in our relationships, you have to ensure that we have that balance. Sex is not something taboo. We're supposed to be having that conversation with our children. They're going to see it on Instagram or TikTok anyway, or on YouTube. If you as a man, you're supposed to be able to have community, to be able to reason about your situation and mentorship, elders, to pass on information. Imagine my father taught me everything he knew. You understand? Nothing I would have to learn. So we have to stop looking at our sexuality as taboo and begin to look at it as something that is just natural. So my closing words for you is, yes, I do produce medicines. I have herbs. Yet, the herbs only serve 30% of the solution. 70% of the solution comes from your mind. That's why you have a type of study called a placebo study, whereby you have a headache, and they give you a sugar pill, and they just tell you it's aspirin, and as you take it, up, the headache is gone. You have a toothache, as you go by the dentist, the toothache is gone. Right? So, your mind is 70% of the solution. So, woman, deal with your trauma differently, embrace it, be joyful about it. Man, take on your rejection differently. Use it as fuel to become a better man. Blessed.